Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about the ILLO Sketchbook. And I think we've probably all seen this from a specific YouTuber that everyone probably knows. And I remember she had great things to say about the sketchbook. And I think for some people it might work really well, but I wanted to give my honest feedback on this because I haven't had a great experience at all really using this. So I guess let's just get into it. So, first of all, I did swatch some markers here, and the thing that I realized basically right off the bat was that it bleeds quite badly. For some people that might not be a problem, but for me, I like to use both sides of the page, and that's kind of impossible when things bleed so badly. So for simple color drawings, like with color line art or colored pencil lead, it doesn't work badly. It doesn't really smudge at all, which is quite nice, and the pencil lead stays in place, but the color is where it gets kind of iffy. So you can see here, these are some more realistic illustrations that I did, and I did them a long time ago, and you can see there's a lot of like fine detail there that hasn't smudged with time, which is really nice. I mean, if you're using this sketchbook as just a pencil sketchbook, it works fantastic. But it is marketed as a multimedia sketchbook, so I did put it to the test. And on one hand, the side that you use the color with, it does lay down very nicely. I like it. As you can see here, I think the colors are vibrant. It doesn't like bleed everywhere, which is really nice. But it ghosts, as you can see here and here, basically shines through. And with gouache, I use gouache here, you don't have too much actually, but that's because I used a very light amount of water on both of these illustrations, so it didn't show through too badly. But at the same time, it's not as opaque as I would have, well, thick as I would like the paper to be. And this is terrible. So here you can see an example of things just terribly bleeding through. The alcohol-based markers are like the worst on this paper, which surprises me because I kind of think of like multimedia sketchbooks as being good with all types of media, but yeah, markers are pretty bad. They just bleed right through. And if you're not a marker person, maybe this will be fine, but I'm also going to talk about watercolor in a little bit, and that doesn't work very well either. So this is when I first got my Hemi gouache, and it doesn't bleed through too terribly, but it does bleed through for sure. You can see another sketchbook image here. And yeah, doesn't like it, you can see it ghosts when it's lifted, but once it's put down, it kind of fades away, which is nice. Let's see. Sketching past all this. So here's when I started using pretty thick amounts of gouache, and you can see the paper starts bowing and buckling definitely later in. I consider myself a pretty like heavy water user, so maybe that's a problem. If you want really thick paper, this paper is probably not for you. But yes, let's see, let's go to the watercolor paintings. So here's a watercolor painting I did. This is actually a speed paint that I did on my channel, and you can see the paper is just wrinkling like crazy. I'm someone who uses a water bottle and then I spray the paper and the paint beforehand, so my technique is very wet on wet. I hardly ever do anything on dry media, so I really need the paper to hold up, and it doesn't. So it's a really big problem for me, and I feel like these reviews don't really talk about how wrinkly the paper gets and how that is just incredibly frustrating, because if you use watercolor and the paper starts wrinkling, the water pools and it's kind of difficult to control things. So I guess this was a problem of using a sketchbook instead of regular traditional paper, which you can pre-wet and then tape and then have it like stretched and prepared. but considering everyone online says it's like great for watercolor, I had hopes. And it's not terrible, like you can get fine paintings with it, it's just not the best. So once again, you can see on the other side how much warping happened. And it's just a little frustrating. I don't know. The nice thing about the watercolors, it doesn't really like show through, but also at the same time you can like kind of perfectly see where I painted because there's so much water and buckling. But yeah, here's another. This one buckled slightly less, but I don't know if it was because I used less water. I still used pretty heavy water for this one, but it didn't buckle too terribly. I will say that because the sketchbook is closed and bound, like you can put this thing on, it kind of flattens the watercolor paper after a little bit, well the paper, and it makes it flatten out, but it's not very helpful when you're painting. So when you're painting, it does crinkle up and buckle and just get a little wonky and crazy until it dries out and you press it and it becomes flatter, because you know, things that are flattened, flatten. So let's try out some mixed media, just visually illustrate how this paper works. So I got some, however the heck you say that, markers here. So I got varying colors, so let's try it out with the brush and then the chisel. And then I got a less saturated, well, a less dark color, so green. And then I got an even lighter color, hopefully. Yeah, a little bit lighter. Not terribly lighter, but you know, I'm trying. And then I got some regular pens. I thought we could try this out as well. Getting a really thick line and then a thinner line. And then I got a lighter pen color. Just to test out if darker colors show through more than lighter colors. And I got a highlighter. You know, if you're a highlighter drawing person, I know some people are. There's not double side to that. Let's do a thin line too. And I got another highlighter, just trying out 2 different colors. Keep on wanting to unlock the other side. And then let's see, I got a black micron liner. I actually don't have any thick microns, so I'm just trying to layer that on there to give the illusion of a thick one. And then of course I have pencil, throwing it around. And then let's see, I have some ink, just to see what this will do and if it will bleed through. I'm trying to layer it on pretty thickly, just to really like, you know, push the paper to its limits. We'll see how that goes. And then I have some watercolors over here, which we can also try. So let's get a lighter color first. I sprayed the pen down, but just not my brush. So we got a really light color here, and let's do a much darker color. Let's do a dark blue. Let's do a watered out one too. Go. Let's see. Should we do some gouache? You know, why not? Let's do some gouache. So let's take a red. Oh, that's a lot of red. I don't like how it gets all over me. But yes, there we go. Let's water it out a little bit. Really put this sketchbook to the test. How much water can it hold? Okay, let's do a lighter color, like a let's do a light yellow. Yeah, let's use this yellow. Okay, got some yellow. Let's fan that bad boy out. Okay, there we go. So I realized there's one other thing I want to try out, and that is a fountain pen. It is also using ink like this, but you know, I thought we can try it out to see if it differs at all. So boop, boop, boop. All right. All right, so I now have labeled everything and everything looks to be dry, so let's flip it over. So as you can see, buckling with the watercolor gouache. And that makes sense, there's water inside of it, so it will start buckling. And then we can see a little bit of a ghost from the Micron fountain pen and regular pens, and then very opaque ghosting from the alcohol-based markers. So this pretty much kind of summarizes what I already pretty much knew. Some ghosting here. What is this? Ah, the ink. Yeah, a little bit from the ink too. So yeah, if you are a watercolor or a good old Micron or Ohuhu or whatever the heck alcohol-based marker person, then just keep that in mind, because this paper does ghost and bleed and buckle. But it looks like if you're a pen user, it'll work pretty well. And yeah, I mean, it does give you fine paintings. Like, I wouldn't say this is bad. It just, there's limitations to the paper, and knowing the paper limitations might be worth it or might not be worth it for you. But just knowing that can help you have an informed decision if you would like to buy this paper yourself. So I hope that helped. And it answers some questions you might have about this. If you have any other questions about this paper, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll definitely try to respond. I am not sponsored by anyone, so I have no problems with answering completely honestly for any product. So yeah. Bye.